existing cell towers, etc., while Thomas Alva Edison, one of the grid's key early architects, would be totally familiar with the present grid. So this I wanted to mean. This is the normal phone, and the primitive model of this is invented by Graham Bell, and this is the modern smartphone, and we can bring very difficult to identify between this and this. Very difficult because there is a sea change in this system.
Sir,
But if you go to the classical grid and smart grid, if you consider this one is a kind of a smart grid and this one is a kind of a traditional grid, there is not much change.
transformation learning.
Even in
Directly
140 years,
transformation learning.
absolutely no change. Not there is a small change. Only
And
change in the
quality-
theoretical paper. We talk about smart
Quality,
grid, but
quality,
we do not
IQAC,
find any
deep
smart grid
quality
in India.
IQAC. Dean IQAC.
That is the issue. So we need a change. Smart grid does not mean there are thousand sensors to be there. Smart grid does not mean information based technology should be there, IoT. Smart grid does not mean two-way communication. Smart grid means a lot more than that. Smart grid does not mean penetration of renewable energy. There are a lot of other aspects of that. Smart grid does not mean the robotic kind of operation, power system operation. It's not that smart grid. So smart grid is something else what you wanted to mean, and there are challenges. And in fact, I do not know about the overall Indian power system point of view, but as far the ERLDC concerned, I mentioned I had a discussion with Mr. Chandan Kumar. His name is also like that. He told there's a lot of issues are there in the evening time because of 10 to 11% penetrations in the renewable energy. Now, what are the issues? Let me tell you one by one. The basics of the power system, not going to deliver in the faculty development program. We all faculty, there must be some certain amount of generation, and then the generation will be transmitted to the primary and secondary transmission. Then it will be stepped down with the help of a transformer, step down transformer, go to the primary distribution, secondary distribution, and finally to the end consumer. But this is not all about power system. So the main role of the grid is to generate electricity and transmit to the customers or consumer and bill them once, either every month or every quarter. This limited one-way interaction makes it difficult for the grid to respond to changes happening in the network. If anything goes change, and if the communication is from one side, from generation to consumer side, it's very difficult to tackle. But smart grid is having one important component. It may be a multilateral communication. At least two-way communication should be there. So this smart grid introduces a two-way communication between the utility, but I will replace this idea by a two-way communication. It may be multi-way communication between the utility and its customer. That's required developing the network automation, control, and different tools which will work together to make the grid more efficient, reliable, and our final objective, we have to make our planet clean and green. And for that reason, the system should be finally, our planet finally should be cleaner and greener. Today, 1st December of 2022, and in Calcutta, I am delivering the lecture from Calcutta. Temperature in that was 32 degrees centigrade. It was when I was young. It's not that. The 1st December of 1970 means the temperature will be coming that 14-15 degrees centigrade. See the amount of global change, global warming. 32 degrees centigrade in the morning, the 1st December 20. Huge amount of global change because we have burned fossil fuels like anything. We have to stop it deliberately. And that's why almost every alternative year, all the big shots, all the prime minister and presidents of different countries, they are going for the CERT meeting in 2016 or 2015, possibly in Paris. Then in last year, 2022, there is again a program in Scotland, Glasgow, regarding this global issue, climate issues. And our Prime Minister attended that problem. That's the biggest issue nowadays. So we have to jump to renewable energy as early as possible. But jumping renewable energy with the fossil fuel is not an easy task for the electrical engineers and mechanical engineers, for the power engineer. It's not an easy task. It will generate and penetrate is not that. So what are the issues? Because my caption is the challenges. Let me tell you challenges of penetrating renewable energy to the classical grid one by one. And at this point of delivery, let me tell you, as because it is a faculty development program, young budding faculty have to develop, I am allowing faculty to put any questions during my delivery. You can put your audio on and you can ask me the questions such that it should be little bit interactive. Any questions come into your mind, you can ask me freely. I'm a senior teacher, you don't mind. Or at the end of the lecture, you can. I'm giving you the options. During this delivery, you can put me the question. So this is the thing I could not get it, so I'll explain you. Or at the end of this delivery, the choice is yours, and I'll be happy to answer it. The first challenge, transmission challenges, is the biggest if you put into this. Let me explain you how transmission, because the solar energy, I told you in the beginning, I have little bias to solar energy, and we will give our attention only to solar energy for the time being. Solar energy we cannot generate just like that and anywhere. It depends on location, it depends on azimuthal angle, lot of other issues are there. Just like that we put the solar panel and the sun will be available and the generator. It depends on a lot of factors. If you go through the equivalent circuit of the solar panel or solar cell, it is not that anywhere you put the solar panel and you will get the maximum efficiency. It is not that. My two students are working in that level. So locational dependency is very, very important. Just putting panel and getting energy is not the issue. So if this is the situation, no, if this is the thing, then what happens? We have to generate the solar energy from a particular point where load is not there. Maybe the center of gravity of the load is somewhere else. So we need a distribution line. We need a transmission line. We have to transfer power of that generated energy to the load side. And there the challenges comes. So transmission challenges include new bottlenecks inside states. It creates a problem within the states and limited capacity available across states. I mean interstate transmission lines as solar and wind sites tend to be concentrated in certain regions within the states and also in certain states within India. I hope you got my point. If you do not understand this point, you can put the questions in the form I will, because these are the issues. And I will mainly concentrate or give attention of this solar energy generation, not in a global perspective, rather from our country's perspective. Because we all nowadays believe in Make in India. Whatever we have to do, we have to first do for our country, then we'll think of the other advanced country. So this is the issue. Within the states, the problem is creating, and the limited capacity available across states, that is creating another issues in terms of national perspective when we are going to penetrate renewable energy to the classical. The first challenge by the Poshoko people or by the Poshoko engineers. This is one important challenge. Second important challenge is this. I'll change the site. You don't think that not I'm changing that, because in every site there are a lot of things to be discussed. You might consider in the slide number 5. It's not that. I'll go on changing, but let me explain the basic challenges of penetrating renewable energy. The second important challenge, try to understand, many states lack real-time solar and wind generation data. We Indians do not have the habit of keeping data properly. That is another biggest issue. Then you may ask the question, why is that? Why this accurate data, solar and wind is required? Because the solar energy and the wind energy is stochastic in behavior, and its magnitude is continuously varying in a time frame from morning to evening, we have to forecast it properly. And for forecasting of energy, nowadays, the forecasting of energy is very, very important. that comes under the competitive market environment or deregulation environment. So for forecasting this energy, we have to have a accurate data from renewable energy point of view. What we do not have that kind of habit. That is the biggest issue in India nowadays, in every state. That's another challenge. Many states lack real-time solar and wind generation data, and the accuracy of the solar and wind forecasts must improve. The accuracy level of solar and wind forecasting is very poor in our country, even though we are having a number of forecasting devices and software available in the market. In open access mode, in license mode it is available, but because of the wrong input, because of the wrong data availability, we cannot forecast it properly, and the trouble begins. But these are the things what I am delivering now. These are the information I collected from the practicing engineers from Posho. It is not that something I've written in the slides and presenting it. These are the real issues in India, even in our state, the eastern part of this. Regulations often allow for forecast errors of plus minus 15%. Of course, and every system is under kind of certain kind of regulatory bodies. Impossible also it is there. And they will allow plus minus 15%. Okay, if there is a lack of good data, accurate data, they will allow plus minus 15% error, but not beyond that. Which for Karnataka may lead to more than 1000 megawatt renewable generation deviation at certain time. Karnataka faced this issue. This very year, Karnataka 1000 megawatt deviation because of lack of proper forecasting. Imagine, 1000 megawatt is not a matter of joke in terms of renewable energy deviation. I am giving the statistics. To address these critical issues, India has 11 renewable energy management centers. Because of this deviation, so what they have thought, so they have developed 11 renewable energy management centers under regulatory bodies. I mean co-located with load dispatch centers managing a cumulative solar and wind power capacity of 60 gigawatt plus and sharing data among state, regional and national grid operation center. First they think for the state, then they think for the region like eastern region, western region, southern region. They think on the basis of region. Then finally they think in terms of country, national level. So we can conclude from this second challenge, there is a lack of reliable long-term demand projections and forecasts at the state level, at the regional level, as well as the national level. I believe the second challenges are very clear to you. In fact, every 15 days, almost these are the states, Karnataka, Gujarat, Rajasthan, those who are very pioneer in producing solar energy, they are facing these critical issues. I mean the practicing engineer. We work in an academia, we do not know. Whatever we discuss in slides and all that, but they are facing this problem 24/7 into 365. They are really facing. And they always come to this IIST, Institute of National Importance, and IIT KGP, IIT Kharagpur to discuss these issues with the senior teachers, how to handle these issues from practical point of view. So these are the second challenges, let me tell you. Third important challenges is, possibly you can guess, suddenly the load demand has increased. Suddenly, I'll come to all these slides, agreement and all that later on. These are not technical part. These are all agreement and managerial part. I'll come later on. But these are also important from this point of view. All the academicians and teachers should understand the agreement, different agreement. The third important thing, government has given emphasis of electrical vehicles. By 2030, our present Prime Minister announced 35 to 40% IC-based engines in automobile, internal combustion engine, should be converted to either hybrid mode, IC and battery based, or purely battery based. So there is a huge amount of EV charging stations will be there. And because of huge amount of EV charging station, who will do that? Only by the solar energy. Because sun's energy is a DC power, it is not that DC power. So for solar energy, DC load is the best load, and for that, battery is the ideal load for any solar energy. So EV is increasing like anything in our country, in fact almost all the country. So that is one of the biggest load, or will be the biggest load in future. And nowadays a lot of students, the research scholars, even the young engineers, those who do not, young teacher, they're all working in the remote charging and that cordless, I mean the what's it, cordless charging, the different charging station, swapping station, recycling of battery, lithium ion battery. There are a lot of new topics have come into the market for doing the research regarding EV. A lot of issues are EV. But I am not going into details of those research topics. Rather, EV will become a very good load within 4 or 5 years. That's the biggest challenge. And that can be mitigated by renewable energy, especially solar energy. And another important thing, just now I told in my explanation, possibly have guessed it by this time, AC load. Calcutta, 1st December 2022, temperature is 32 degrees centigrade, and I feel like this running of AC. So AC load had increased like anything over last 10 years. So sudden increment of load because of AC and EV creating another, what it is creating? It is creating another kind of peak demand. And this peak demand we cannot mitigate, or we cannot meet by the renewable energy. Say the peak demand is 7 p.m. At 7 p.m. where will get the sun? It is not that sun will listen our thing. At 7 p.m. we have to give the irradiance. It is not feasible. Sun and wind, they will give the power according to their will. It's not the will of the engineers and as per the demand. So that increasing demand, and that too at the peak demand, at the different time slot, creates another problem with the traditional grid. And that is creating the inertia and rock-off. I do not know how much time I will get. The rock-off and the inertia issue is the biggest issue. And in fact, regarding inertia and rock-off, I am delivering a lot of lectures in across India in different NIT universities. These are the biggest issues nowadays. It is not that we will penetrate the renewable energy, but the practical issues are serious kind of issues, critical issues. So demand is increasing because of AC, air conditioning machines, and EV, and again the peak is appearing at a different time. That's again another important issue. Next, possibly you can guess, another challenge is ramping requirements are reaching. Ramping means, possibly you got the idea, ramping means, say at 5 p.m. I am giving you a small example, say 100 megawatt. I am not talking in terms of gigawatt. For a small city or semi-urban area, say demand is 100 megawatt at 5 p.m. At 7 p.m., suddenly that 100 becomes 600 p.m., 6 volts compared to 5 p.m. So within 2 hours, 100 to 600 you have to go. So ramping rate is very, very high. We will tackle this issue. Theoretically, we can publish this paper in Scopus Index. We can go for mathematical modeling. We can run the MATLAB. We'll get some data. We can compare the data with all this with the previous paper. We can publish it. But the real issue is this: at 5 p.m. in a small town, 100 megawatt demand. After 2 hours, the demand is 600 megawatt. Who will solve it? Because of the ramping rate, huge amount of slope in that curve. And it's very difficult to control by the practicing engineer. So ramping rate is another biggest issue if you want to penetrate the renewable energy to the grid. So ramping requirements are increasing day by day, and for existing coal generation plants at the state level, there is a lack of flexibility and standard operation procedures and protocols. These are another important challenges. Next, fourth, this I guess the third challenge is. The fourth challenge is the curtailment of solar and wind is both a challenge. What does it mean, the curtailment? Say we are producing power, DC power from solar energy, charging the battery, and from these battery swapping stations, if we are getting charged, suddenly the cloud has appeared. I mean, there is a huge amount of shading effect to that zone, to that solar panel zone. There is a huge amount of shading effect. Or suddenly the cloud has appeared for 2 hours or 3 hours, what we do not know. And we cannot charge the battery station from our classical energy. It's a little difficult. You have to rectify it, and then a lot of issues are there. So sudden curtailment because of the shading effect. So the current and future curtailment of solar and wind is both a challenge and a solution for managing the system in emergency situation. I am not going into deep regarding the shadowing effect of the solar panel. In solar panel, we simply utter shadowing effect or shadow effect, but this is not the effect. We do not know the topological design of the cloud. So the cloud floats above the solar panel, and depending on the shape of the cloud, the shade is formed. So the topology on the solar panel is continuously changing. It is not that it is shading the full panel at a particular time. It's not that. The topology of shadow on the solar panel is continuously changing. That's another issue. And the topology of shadow on a solar panel was a research topic, and 1 year back I had been in Bombay to adjugate one thesis. I adjugated under Professor Siddhartha Dattagupta. I was there to take the final PhD. So that's an important area nowadays. What is the topological aspect of shadow on the solar panel and how the panel is behaving during that time was a topic of one IT student in Bombay IT about a year back. I went there to adjugate one thesis. So that's another issue. I'm not going into that detail, the topological aspect of shadowing onto the solar panel. But some shadowing effect will be there, and that creates a huge challenge. So the current and future curtailment of solar and wind is both a challenge and solution for managing the system in an emergency situation. While solar and wind have must run status in most states, this can be secondary to the priority given to hydropower or coal generators in some states in certain times. But few states, their regulation says that if there is a little bit confusion about the solar energy or wind energy, better to operate with hydel power stations or coal power stations. They give preference, rather they give priority to the coal power as well as hydel power rather than the sun's power, solar power and this power, wind power. That's another issue. They give priority to that. Few states, and you cannot dictate because all the states are having their own regulation. From Pushoko side or from other side, you cannot control the local regulation. They are having certain amount of autonomy, their own state, because they are having the state utilities like you. Andhra Pradesh having their own state utility and their own regulating body. Pushoko cannot impose lot of regulations from the central government side because they are having certain amount of autonomy. They have to, if they give priority to the coal base, okay, they have to, they are allowed to give that priority for the coal based power generation, then solar will come. That you have to obey it as per the regulations. So another important issue is concerns regarding distributed energy resources such as rooftop solar and EVs, electrical vehicles, include local voltage issues, reverse flow, lack of visibility of existing and new installation, and challenges with forecasting. Whenever we go for a small installation on the rooftop, we do not inform anyone else. Suddenly we cut off our power. We go for our own curtailment. We don't want to take power from somewhere else. We never inform to the state utility also. Say in a particular area, if 50 and 60% of the consumers want to follow the rooftop based solar panel, then again an issue. You have to intimate properly to the state utility. Then state utility again inform to the regional utility. and the regionality finally informed to national level utility or national grid. Just like that, but in reality, we don't do that. We don't do that. We don't follow it. We least bothered about those regulations. Just like that, we put on a rooftop, try to manage 2 fans and 2 lights in a house. Just like that. For 1 or 2 customers, it is fine. But for 100 customers, this is an issue, and an engineer has to think over it. This is the thing. So this is another important concern about this rooftop issues. Another, because we don't believe it, and in that case we call is not a consumer, rather we become a nowadays prosumer. So if you want to convert yourself from consumer to prosumer, you have to inform to the utility, but we don't do that in our country. We do not follow any regulation. But in Australia, they have to. How much power you want, how much you are producing your own, that you have to declare, and accordingly their tariff will be decided. So those who are producing as well as consuming, they are called prosumers. Producer plus consumers. So you have to define the number of prosumers in a particular area. But in our country, that is not the practice. And that's creating another trouble into our grid. That's the biggest issue. The next other issues are the technical challenges. Whatever I discuss, these are all technical challenges, of course. But the other technical challenges include declining system strength. We simply say we'll generate and integrate to the classical grid. But the moment we'll integrate renewable energy to the classical grid, knowingly or unknowingly, we are deteriorating the strength of the grid. That we do not know, and that's create another issue. Declining system strength, increasing fluctuations in frequency, I mean the deviation of frequency. What we have studied or we teach the students for 5th or 6th semester, load frequency control or automatic governor control is the biggest issue. And voltage levels in certain regions, and slight decline of inertia in India in recent years and certain times. If necessary, you can go to Poshoko site for detailed. Poshoko is having their dedicated section for this. You can go and have a detailed study. How we decline the grid system strength, just like that integrating the renewable energy to the classical grid, where coal-based, tidal-based energy is available or nuclear-based energy is available. We are declining the system strength. We are simply changing the system's inertia. That I am not going to detail. That's a completely different aspect, inertia and all that. And finally, there are a lot of points in fact about the challenges, but I have to restrict myself because time is limited. I have another important program in my institution I have to go also. And another, the important aspect, this is here, especially in the SAARC countries or the Southeast Asian countries, the lack of coordination among states, among regionals, and finally the national level. That's the biggest issue. So there is a lack of coordination among state level transmission planners and central planning agencies such as Power Grid Corporation of India, PGCI. A unified planning model across the country is also very much absent. As a step towards addressing this, as a part of the 19th Electricity